So thank you all for joining us this evening. We know that with bills going out just a couple weeks ago, you might have a lot of questions ahead of that first payment due date of August 3rd. So my name is Hannah Smith. I'm the new student coordinator in Student Financial Services here at SLU. I also have my colleague, Dave Rice, who's also in Student Financial Services, and Russell, who's in the Office of Admission, who are here to answer our questions and make sure that you leave here really prepared to make that first payment come next week. So we're just going to kind of jump in. Some notes for today. Your mics and your videos are off, obviously, but we do have the Q&A function and the chat function that will be at your disposal during the webinar. So feel free to drop questions in there. We also have a list of your pre-submitted questions that you submitted on your registration form. So we'll make sure to hit those in the presentation and then after during the Q&A session as well. So feel free to use that Q&A function and that chat function throughout the presentation, but we'll likely wait until the end of the presentation to address those live. So tonight, we're just going to kind of go over understanding your bill, what the webinar says. So we'll go over bill basics, the cycle of billing and how you'll get notified that you have a new billing statement available at the university. We're also going to go through covering the remaining balance. So you got that estimated financial aid offer back in March or April. They kind of gave you an estimate of your costs and your aid and how that was going to apply for the year. And so your bill might look a little bit different now that you're sitting down and actually thinking about making that payment. So covering that remaining balance, we're going to kind of go through some financing options and show you what the best ways are to cover that remainder of the balance. We're also going to go through your payment suite. So your payment suite is going to be kind of your gold mine of information when it comes to all things billing. And you'll be able to do a lot within your payment suite as a student, and your parents can also get into your payment suite and see a lot of information in there as well. So we'll kind of go over how to do things in there, what that looks like, and get y'all prepared for making that first payment and viewing your account activity throughout the years. And lastly, we're going to wrap up with some bill examples. So we'll go through some billing statements. They can be a little bit confusing to kind of look at charges and how your aid goes on and how that remainder of the balance is calculated. And so we'll go through some examples, some test students to see, kind of talk through those bills and make sure that you're really knowledgeable of what you could potentially see on that bill. And it might be helpful to have your bill with you tonight, just to kind of go over, okay, I'm seeing this. What does that mean? Is that normal? And kind of address any questions that you have towards the end of the presentation as well. So as I said, going over bill basics. So your statement of account or your bill is going to capture a moment in time at the middle of each month that's going to show your current charges, and those current charges are based on a variety of factors. So things like enrollment, especially if you were one of the later SLU 101 cohorts and you weren't fully registered for your classes before that bill went out, you could see a big difference between your billing statement and what that remainder of the balance is and your current account activity and what those charges and remaining balance looks like. So so that's based on enrollment. If you're a full-time student, your charges are obviously going to be a little bit higher. If you're a part-time student, the charges might be lesser, but your aid might not have been able to pay. And so your balance would look really wonky in those situations. And one of our bill examples we'll go over is a student that is enrolled part-time, so you can kind of see what that looks like there. Also, charges, of course, are going to be based on your residency, if you're on versus off campus, and those residency students should see their room and board charge for their exact hall on their bill. If you're living off campus, you could see that commuter meal plan. And so we'll talk through those. We can see examples of those charges as they go on the bill as well. You'll also have additional course and program fees associated with the classes that you're enrolled in and the program that you're pursuing at St. Louis University. So you could see, for instance, some software fees or something like that associated with your college or school here at St. Louis University. And then you could also see things like English lab fee or biology lab fee. Those are course fees associated with those specific courses that are in your schedule. So those are going to change from semester to semester, and those are going to change based on what you saw on that estimated financial aid offer. Those course fees and program fees weren't worked into that estimated remaining balance, and so that's where you could see some discrepancy there. Health insurance is required for all students that are full-time at the university. So you could see a health insurance charge on there, and we'll kind of talk through how to waive that if you can provide proof of alternate insurance that you've got. If you're planning on parking on campus, and if you are a residential student or a commuter student and you're planning on commuting to and from home, you're going to need to park on campus. So you have the option to put your parking pass through your parking portal on your student account. And so that would show up on your actual statement of account or bill from our office. Bookstore charges, also you have the ability to put those on your student account. So you could see those go on next month as those books start to be bought at our Barnes & Noble bookstore, and you charge those to the student account. You also have the option to just pay out of pocket for those and not see those on your student account at all. So after all of these things kind of go into account, your charges are going to go on, and then your scholarship and financial aid will reduce the amount that you owe. And for these additional costs, like health insurance, as I said, you are able to waive that. And so you'll go to Aetna Student Health. That URL is on the screen now, and you're able to put in some information about your student. You'll need to know date of birth, their banner ID number, their student ID, and get into their portal to waive the insurance. Usually it takes about 3 to 5 days for that charge to fall off on our end once it's waived in the Aetna system. So it does take a little bit of processing time, but then you'll see that health insurance charge be reversed on that next billing statement. Parking permits, as I said earlier, are available for purchase through your parking portal in your My SLU Tools tab. So you'll have a little car icon that says parking portal that you can go and put that directly on your student account, or similar to the bookstore charges, you can just pay out of pocket for those as well. So the billing cycle, as I mentioned, you'll get a bill or a student account statement the middle of each month that will be kind of a snapshot in time of your current charges, your current aid, and your current balance for as of the day that that bill was pulled. Now, likely at this point, we can kind of anticipate that we're going to catch up with a lot of those changes that might be happening in the August bill, but you might see a lot of changes between your July bill and what your current account says your remainder of your balance is for the semester. And so you'll just want to make sure that while that bill is important to kind of get a bearing on what exactly those charges are, that you're also looking at the account activity. And we'll kind of go through the difference of where to find those different things in your payment suite and make sure that you're seeing the most current information and up-to-date information when you go in there to make a payment. For fall, this semester, for fall 22, your first statement was mailed out mid-July. And you also got an email at your SLU email account. From here on out, that'll happen exactly the same. So you'll get a mailed bill to your permanent address. And then you'll also get notification via email to the student's SLU email to say a billing statement is ready. If you are an authorized user on your student account, you will also get an email that says a new billing statement has been issued, and you'll be able to log in to bill pay with your authorized user login and see their current billing statement for that month. So mailed mid-July for that first statement. Of course, the first payment due date is August 3rd for this fall. And then spring, for the spring semester, it'll be mailed mid-December, and your first payment due date there for spring will be January 4th. All of our payment due dates are published on our website, on the Paying Your Bills site, so you'll be able to see exactly when those fall, but typically it's going to be the first business day of each month. So we give a little grace period. It's the first of the month, but if that first day of the month falls on a weekend or a holiday, we just defer to that first business day of the month will be your payment due date. So once you have that billing statement and you know what that remaining balance is going to be, you really have three options to be able to cover that remaining balance. So the first option is just pay out of pocket. So you can take that remainder of the balance and pay it in full by that first payment due date of August 3rd for fall and January 4th for spring. Or you could spread it out on a payment plan. And we'll talk about what those payment options, those payment plan options look like and how to sign up for one later on in the presentation. If paying out of pocket, either in full or on a payment plan, isn't an option, we can explore some additional funding options through financing, through a Parent Plus loan, or private or alternative student loans. So your Parent Plus loan is going to be a loan that you apply for out on studentaid.gov, where you file that free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA. And you will, as parents, log in with your FSA ID and be able to submit that Parent Plus application. Parent Plus loans, you are eligible to take out up to the full cost of attendance, which this year is $70,676 for a student that's living on campus. And you're able to take that cost of attendance minus your student's other financial aid, and that's the amount that you can have in that Parent Plus loan. So if you go out there and you're applying for that Parent Plus loan, it's going to ask, how much would you like to borrow? Or you can choose the max eligible option. If you choose the max eligible option, we will basically do that calculation for you. So we'll take their cost of attendance minus their other financial aid that they've received and give you that amount in that Parent Plus loan to pay off the direct costs or the billed costs at the university. But likely there's going to be some leftover as well. So anything in excess of direct or billed charges in a Parent Plus loan or private or alternative student loans, really any type of aid, is typically refunded to students at the beginning of the semester. The private student loans work pretty similarly, but these are through private lenders. We do have a historical or preferred lender list out on our website that I'll link to in the next slide, or in the next couple of slides, that will show you lenders that students have worked with in the past to be able to secure those private or alternative loans. We do kind of use this as the last option for financing that education because we estimate those private or alternative student loan interest rates at about 10%. So we recommend that you first make a decision on that federal direct loan eligibility that your student has just by filing the FAFSA. They're freshmen this year, they got $5,500 in loan eligibility. And that has the lowest interest rate typically of student loans that you can find. So we kind of recommend first explore that federal direct student loan, and then if you need more money to be able to finance, explore that Parent Plus loan, and then private or alternative student loans. And we'll kind of go through each of these options and what they look like on down the line. So if you were to pay out of pocket, as I said, you can pay in full, and that would be, that remainder balance payment by August 3rd for the fall, and then January 4th for the spring. We also have monthly payment plan options that would essentially cut your remaining balance in 5 installments over the course of the semester. So you would pay monthly August to December for fall, and then January through May for spring. We have 2 payment plan options. The first is a $75 enrollment fee option. And typically this works well for students with a balance of $5,000 or greater. This is a plan where you pay $75 upfront to enroll in the plan, and then you're not accruing interest or finance charges over the course of the semester while you're paying that balance off. The second option is a 1% finance charge monthly, where you would be accruing 1% interest on that remaining balance each month until that balance is paid in full. So typically students with a semester balance of lower than $5,000 will benefit from utilizing the 1% finance charge monthly. Essentially, you're going to pay less in interest over the course of the semester than $75 upfront if you enrolled in that enrollment fee plan. Paying out of pocket might also look like paying from a 529 plan or paying with outside scholarships, that remaining balance. So if you have a 529 plan or a college savings plan that you've been saving for your student for education-related expenses, really the best kind of flow of things is to go out to your 529 provider and advise them that your student will be attending St. Louis University. And a lot of times they'll ask for contact information for the Office of Student Financial Services or where to send the check or things like that. They might ask for confirmation of enrollment, seeing a class schedule, or confirmation of enrollment deposit, things like that. And we're happy to provide anything that your 529 provider might need to be able to validate your student's enrollment at St. Louis University. The very last slide of my presentation is our contact information. And so you'll be able to get that at the very end of the presentation if you need to provide that to either 529 plans or outside scholarship entities that are offering your student additional funding. Typically, if you're talking with any of those funding sources that have outside scholarships for your students, we need these 4 things. So it's really a good idea to have the student's name and banner ID number. That helps us identify the exact student that those funds need to go towards. The award terms are things like, do you want this all to go towards fall? Is this a spring-only scholarship? Should it be cut in half between fall and spring and pay each semester like the rest of their aid? How should this be paid out to the student account? It also means, what can this money go towards? So is this a tuition-only scholarship? Can it go towards direct build costs? Can it be refunded to the student if there's an excess of aid? So we need to know that from the funding source as well, so that we're making sure that we're allocating those funds correctly. And then, of course, the funding source and just a contact person or a telephone number that we can call at that funding source to reach out if we have any questions or concerns of how that money should be allocated or who that should go toward. If you're interested in applying for that Parent Plus loan, so as I said, the parent is the borrower there. You can apply for that Parent Plus loan out on studentaid.gov. So as I mentioned before, it's cost of attendance minus your student's other financial aid is your max eligibility for that Parent Plus loan. There are some fees associated with taking out that Parent Plus loan. One is the federal origination fee, and that 4.228% will just come out of your net amount that actually is paying towards the school. So that'll be kind of wrapped up into the amount that you're borrowing. And then for this year, for 22-23, that Parent Plus loan has a 7.54 fixed interest rate. So all Parent Plus loans that are originated in 22-23 will have that 7.54 fixed interest rate. If you apply for a Parent Plus loan next year as well, your interest rate might be different for that loan for 22-23. If you're out there applying for the loan, most commonly you're going to want that loan for the entire year. So it's going to ask you what you want the loan period to be. Typically, if you want that to span the entire academic year, you're going to request it starting on August or in August of 2022 and ending in May of 2023. There are options to do fall only or spring only, in which case you would do August 22 to December 22, and then January 23 to May 23. But the most common is going to be August to May to span that entire academic year. With that 7.54 interest rate, if you were to borrow $10,000 on that Parent Plus loan, you have a standard 10-year repayment term for that loan. And so you're looking at about $118 a month in terms of your monthly payment once repayment kicks in. Typically, repayment for those Parent Plus loans will kick in 60 days after that loan is paid in full. So if it's for the full academic year, that second payment in January is going to be paying the loan in full. And then your repayment will go into effect 60 days after that. There is an option to defer payments until your student is out of school. So you're more than welcome to do that on the application. That's just a checkbox if you do want those payments deferred. If you're interested in those student loans, as I said, we highly recommend exploring that federal direct loan first. And this is because they're not credit qualifying. Your student was awarded this loan eligibility just by filing the FAFSA. And the amount that they are actually eligible for is based on credit hours. So if they're freshmen by credit hours, so under 30 hours, they're eligible for 5,500 this year. And then that eligibility goes up a little bit once they gain more credit hours. So 6,500 for sophomores and 7,500 for juniors and seniors. Again, these do come with some fees. So there's a 1.057 federal origination fee. Again, these will just be kind of lumped into the amount that you're borrowing, and then you'll net 1.057 less than the 5,500. So your interest rate for these, again, fixed rate for 22-23 is 4.99%. There are a few additional things that you have to do to get that federal direct loan to actually pay towards your bill. So the first thing is that you have to accept it in your MySLU, where you go and accept your award offer. You'll be able to accept your terms and conditions and then see all of your other pieces of aid that are out there. Your free aid in the form of scholarships or grants, that's going to be automatically accepted for you out there. So there's no way that you can accidentally decline that or have it not pay to your account. But you will need to go out and make a decision on those loans, how much you want to take of that eligibility for each year. If you go out and accept them in MySLU, you can accept, the full 5,500 for freshmen. And then you will also need to go out and fill a master promissory note and complete loan entrance counseling out on studentaid.gov. So you'll be able to see those two requirements. If you go to studentaid.gov and then click on complete aid process, you'll see master promissory note and loan entrance counseling as two options there. So you'll fill it out under your FSA students. We see quite a bit that maybe they're on a family computer and they are using the save password function and they log into studentaid.gov, not realizing that it's their parents' FSA ID, complete the master promissory note and loan entrance counseling, and then your parents get credit for that and your loan isn't able to pay. So just make triple sure that you're logged in with your FSA ID when you're completing that master promissory note and loan entrance counseling. And then if you have all three of those things completed, they should be paying to your bill and be able to see those under estimated financial aid. If you're exploring private or alternative student loans, these would be credit qualifying student loans that are in the student's name. But typically, since you might not as a student have a lot of credit built up at 16, 17 or 18, you will likely need a creditworthy cosigner there, which will likely be your parents. Kind of the general rule for private or alternative loans is to start with lenders where you have an established line of credit, but we also have a preferred lender list, as I mentioned, that you can go out to be able to see other lenders that SLU students have used to be able to secure those private or alternative loans. As I mentioned earlier, we do estimate an interest rate of about 10% on those loans. Your loan period typically is going to be the same that you used for that Parent Plus loan, so August 22 to May 23, if you want that for the entire academic year. And similarly, if you were to borrow $10,000 on a private or alternative student loan, typically there's no origination fees for private or alternative loans, but your interest rate likely is going to be a little bit higher. And so with $10,000 borrowed there, you're looking at about $132 for estimated monthly payment over the course of a standard 10-year repayment term for those. Okay, so we're going to transition into going into the payment suite and looking at what these screens look like and functionality within your payment suite. So to navigate to your payment suite, you're going to log into your MySLU portal and you're going to go to your Tools tab and you'll see all of your apps where you registered for SLU 101, where you did your parking. This is where your Google Drive is. This is where your banner self-service is. And payment suite, this is the little icon. It's a little dollar bill out there. So you'll click on payment suite. And once you're in there, this will kind of be what your dashboard looks like. You'll see the menu up top. So you have home, and then you have a lot of options there. I will say this little announcement box to the very top left of the screen here has a lot of good information just throughout the year to make sure that you know what that billing statement is, and kind of has some important information there depending on the time of year. Typically, the first thing that students you're going to want to do once you get into your payment suite is go ahead and go into Authorized Users and set up whoever you would like to have access to your payment suite. So to do that, you can go over to the left menu where this red box is, click on Authorized Users, and you'll be able to add Authorized Users. Essentially, you just add their email address, and then you can toggle yes or no based on if you would like that person to see your billing statement and account activity and your payment history and account activity. So you can say yes or no for those things. Put in the email address of the authorized user that you're wanting to add to your account, and then click continue. From there, authorized users, you will get an email that says St. Louis University student requested you to be an authorized user on their payment suite. And so it'll give you the link to log in there, and it will give you a temporary password. So if you follow that link, which is billpay.slu.edu up there, you'll see authorized user login access. So you'll put in the email that your student put in when they added you as an authorized user, and you'll put your temporary password in there. The first time that you log in with that temporary password, it'll ask you to establish your own password, at which point you have your own login information to be able to go into billpay.slu.edu and see your students' information, what they've said is okay to share with you. So account activity, statement activity, and payment activity in there. If we go back to your home page after you've set up authorized users, and you can have up to 10 authorized users in there to be able to see your statements, your current account activity, and make payments on your behalf. If we go in and say view activity. So as you can see a little snapshot here of your student account. You can see your balance. So these are going to be all your charges, and then estimated financial aid, and then your balance including estimated aid. But that doesn't really tell you all that you likely want to know. So what are my charges? What is my estimated financial aid? What's kind of driving this balance? So you're going to go into view activity. You can hit view activity right under your student account kind of balance snapshot there, or you can go to my account and then account activity once you're there. So if you go to view activity, it'll take you to this account activity page where you'll be able to kind of break down all of your costs and aid for each semester and see what your remaining balance is for each semester. So of course, we're in fall 22 right now. So we're going to click on fall 22, and then we're going to be able to see all of our estimated financial aid at the top, all of our account activity. So all of that is showing us specific fees that have gone on. We're living in Grease Hall, so you can see Grease room and board fall charge there. We have an undergraduate transition fee, which is the fee that's charged to cover things like SLU 101 and your fall orientation. There is a health insurance charge on there for $1,699, so you can see that. tuition is charged. They have a university fee for a full-time student, activities fees, some other additional fees like that. Then you can see, as I said, all of your estimated financial aid that's driving that term balance, including estimated aid. So here is where you would be able to see your account activity in real time, update as things are changing and things like that. If you want to see those billing statements that are those kind of snapshots in time, you'll go back to your home and you can click the view statements. It'll tell you a little snapshot of when that latest e-bill came out. So 7/13 was the statement. And you can see here, the statement balance of $15,614 is actually the same as our balance, including estimated aid as shown right now on account activity. So that tells us that our statement was correct as of the time that it was pulled, and that's still up to date. So if we were to go out to view statements, you can also get there by going to your account and then clicking statement history. You'll get out to a page called statements. So you'll be able to see the statement date was 7/13/22. The due date for that balance is 8/3, and your amount there. This is for a different student, so that's why the amounts are different there. If you click view, your billing statement will open in a separate tab, and you'll be able to see exactly what that billing statement looks like. So these are what we're going to kind of go over in a little bit more detail later on, but you can see that first is current charges. So this student took a summer class, it looks like, because they have summer tuition charged. They have some part-time fees, some tuition, and a federal Pell Grant under Authorized Financial Aid. They have an estimated resource under memoed financial aid. And so that means they have a private scholarship or an outside scholarship that they let us know about. And we added that kind of as an earmarker on their account to let us know they have additional aid coming. And that is driving that total due balance there. So we're already deducting that from your remaining balance because we're anticipating those funds to come in. Okay, we're back home. So you can see after you've looked at your account activity, your statement, and you're confident that you can pay out of pocket for the remaining balance and you want to go enroll in a payment plan. So you can select this enroll in payment plan button. Again, you can also go to the top menu and click payment plans. You'll get to the same place. But if you click either of those things, it'll take you to the payment plan enrollment page. And as you can see here, it has options for fall 22 payment plan with interest. As you can see, there's no setup fee there, 5 installments. If you want that 1% interest plan, you'll select that first plan. If you want the enrollment fee plan, as you can see, the setup fee is $75. Again, 5 installments over the course of the semester, but you're not accruing interest over the course of the semester on that remaining balance. So you can select which plan you want. You can go in, it'll show you your installments broken out into 5 installments over the course of the semester. And then you have the option to schedule them. So you can save a payment method and schedule them to automatically be deducted from your bank account and pay the university on the due date each month. Or you can get in on a payment plan. You can get in each month and make that payment manually, whatever you want to do there. You can also make payments directly from your home screen as well. So if you are in a payment plan that you don't have scheduled payments to come out each month, you're going to be making that payment manually. You can do that by clicking the make payment button right under the student account snapshot there, or you can go up to the top menu and make payment. From there, it'll take you to the account payment screen where you'll have the option to either pay current account balance or pay by term. So if we click current account balance, it'll populate a little window there that will automatically put in that current account balance, which is that $15,614 for the semester. If we want to pay the full, balance in full today with this one payment, we're just going to leave that number alone and click add. And once we add it, it'll populate down here at the payment total right here. So you'll be able to see that balance. If you want to do a different balance, you could click in to this box here into this number and change that to maybe 2,000. And so you'll change that number, you'll click add, and then you'll be able to populate your payment total of $2,000 or whatever you want that payment to be at that point. If you click continue, you'll be able to get to the payment methods, and you can apply or you can pay via credit card or electronic check or ACH out there on the payment suite. There is a slight convenience fee for paying by credit card for just processing. And so just know that if you're going to make a pretty large payment, we recommend that electronic check option or that ACH option where you can just put in your bank account information. It automatically withdraws, and then you don't incur any additional fees on that balance. We highly recommend students to also set up electronic refunds. So you can set up electronic refunds through your payment suite by either going to the My Profile setup and then electronic refunds, or hitting the refunds button up top in that top menu. This is one thing that authorized users cannot do for students. So authorized users won't have this option in their billpay.slu.edu to be able to do this on the student's behalf. So students need to go in and make sure that they're setting up electronic refund accounts if they're anticipating any excess of aid that might be refunded back to the student at the beginning of the semester. That makes it a lot quicker to be able to get your money back in your pocket to pay for things like books and supplies for the semester, or transportation costs, or setting up your dorm room, or things like that. So once you hit e-refunds, like I said, either the refunds or over electronic refunds over in the right-hand menu, you'll be able to set up that direct deposit account. You will have to complete a two-step verification before you're able to add that account, but that is pretty easy. You can use email or phone number there. Okay, so now we're going to go into some bill examples. So you'll be able to kind of see, and we'll kind of talk through charges and how they look, how they might show up on your billing statement. So here we have a bill for Billy Billiken. Just a few things when you're looking at this bill. So first glance, you'll be able to see where to send payment. This PO box is the best option when you're trying to send a physical check via mail. So this is the good address to use there. If you have any questions or concerns about your bill, you can also reach out to this email, studentaccounts@slu.edu, or you can use our general sfs@slu.edu with any questions that you have. It'll say your student's name up here and show the permanent address that we have on file for them. It'll also show their banner number, their student number. So their banner ID is kind of the ticket to a lot of, making sure that we're working with the correct student and have the correct information pull up if you were to call or email with questions. So if you're looking for that banner ID number, the bill is a good place to find it. So the student number will be up there. The billing date will be up there as well. As I said, these are snapshots in time. So these were pulled on July 13th. And so really by the 14th, they are out of date. So while this is a good kind of starting point for anticipating charges and remaining balance for this semester, it's always a good idea to go to that account activity rather than this statement and make sure that the statement matches the current activity on the account and you're making the proper payments there. It'll tell you your total balance, your amount due, and then the due date on there. So for these, it's August 3rd. And like I said, it'll be the first business day of each month subsequently throughout the semester. So then we get into your current charges. So you saw a little snapshot of this earlier. So this student has the activity fee, the university fee for full-time students, the orientation transition fee, and the Res Life fee. So those are all pretty standard with students that are enrolled full-time. They have arts and sciences fall tuition for $24,900, and then they do have a health insurance charge on there for $1,699. As we mentioned earlier, it is very possible to waive that if you have proof of outside coverage. So don't worry about that showing up on the bill. You have until September 30th to waive that through Aetna Student Health. And as I said earlier, it takes a little bit of time for that to process in our system and that charge to fall off. But statements will not be updated until the middle of the month each month. So if you're really anxious to see that health insurance charge fall off, you're not going to want to wait for that next billing statement to come out. You can go look at the account activity and see exactly when that comes off. This student is also living in Grease Hall, so they have their room and board charge for fall there. Current payments, so you might see this, your new undergraduate student deposit, that $500 enrollment deposit that you paid throughout the course of last year. It could have been, anytime when your student was admitted to today that you submitted that $500 student deposit. That essentially acts as a down payment for this semester. And so you'll see that $500 just come off your current charges for the semester. And then we have authorized financial aid for this student. They got the Billiken Tuition Award, which is $10,000 a year. So that's being cut in half and paying $5,000 for fall. They got a Catholic High School Award for $4,000. So again, cutting in half for fall. So they get $2,000 there. I can tell they took their full direct loan eligibility here because they are netting that $2,721 for fall. That means they're getting $5,442 for the year. And so they took their entire $5,500 and that's just minus that origination fee out there. And then they have an estimated SLU grant that's also paying half towards fall as well. So with current charges, with their deposit, with all of their authorized financial aid, their total remaining balance for the semester is $15,614. Let's look at another one. So this student, again, they have the activity fee, they have full-time university fee, orientation, transition fee, but this student, you can see, is planning on living at home and commuting to campus. They have this commuter apartment meal plan. And something that you might have seen if your student is planning on commuting is this original charge that went on was actually coded for the SPR, stands for spring. So this charge was initially coded for spring. And on your account activity, you could see the commuter apartment meal plan -fall go on. So there was a point in time where you were being charged double charged, but then the commuter apartment meal plan for spring is reversed. So you're only being charged that $300 for the semester, but that was just an error on our end in terms of coding. So you could see that look a little bit weird if the commuter meal plan for spring went on and then came off, but the one for fall is on there and you're only being charged $300 for that. This student, again, has the health insurance charge. They haven't quite waived that yet at the time that this bill was cut, again, on the 13th. Their new student deposit is coming out as a current payment. They have a federal Pell Grant, an estimated SLU grant, and the SLU University Tuition Scholarship that are all authorized financial aid. And then they also have a memoed financial aid section, this estimated resource out here for $1,000. That means they have told us that they have an outside scholarship for $2,000 for the year that we've put on as an estimated resource, as I said, is kind of an earmark or a placeholder to let the student know, okay, we know that you have this money coming and it's paying directly towards the school. So once we actually get that physical check from that outside funding source, we will convert that to a private scholarship and it won't be estimated anymore, but it'll work the same in terms of applying that towards the balance. The $1,000 is coming off of this total due right here. So we do that just as a way for families to better kind of anticipate aid that they might have coming in later from outside funding sources. So this next bill we're going to look at is a student that was in one of the late SLU 101 cohorts. And so at the time that their bill was actually cut on July 13th, they were pre-registered for a certain number of classes, but they weren't yet taking 12 hours, or they weren't considered a full-time student yet. So this student, his first billing statement is going to be a little off to what his actual current charges and current aid are. So if you'll see here, they were a summer student, they have the activity fee, but they only have the university fee for part-time students. And you'll see this fall tuition, that's only $6,960 when it should be about $24,000 that a full-time student would be charged. So as I said, this kind of timing with when they were registered for classes and when this first billing statement went out is a little bit wonky. And because they weren't considered a full-time student, you can see they don't have any SLU aid that's listed under Authorized Financial Aid. So they have the federal Pell Grant that's kind of being prorated by their enrollment, but they're technically not eligible for any of their SLU aid at that time because they weren't a full-time student. So again, if you were the 14-15 SLU 101 cohort, or if you will be attending SLU 101 on August 8th, this likely is what your billing statement looks like as of now. And it reflects, your current enrollment, your current housing plan. But just know that updates are going to be coming once you fully register for your classes, and we're able to kind of catch up with the charges that you might be incurring over the course of the semester. So I've seen some questions come in the chat, it looks like, and maybe some in the Q&A, but we do have, like I said, your pre-submitted questions that we can kind of go through as we have time for, but were there any in the Q&A that we needed to answer live?
I think we've been pretty much keeping up with those as we've gone along. If anybody has follow-up questions to the ones that they've submitted, happy to answer those. But I think we've been pretty much keeping up with those. If we want to kind of go on to the ones that were pre-submitted, that's good. Or if anyone else wants to pop some things into the Q&A, we'll answer them live now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll throw this one to you, Dave. So when does the Parent Plus loan actually apply to the balance?
So federal aid, not of which a Parent Plus loan would be a federal loan. Federal aid, the regulations say that federal aid cannot apply to account prior to 10 days before the beginning of a semester. And so we do go ahead, and some schools don't wait later, but we do actually apply them at that point. So the aid will actually apply to accounts in mid-August, with classes starting in later August. So 10 days before the beginning of class, it'll post in the fall. And then in the spring, the aid will begin to post in January. We also, this is important because it doesn't work this way at all schools. And if I have had students at multiple schools, but some schools may not post aid until 2 weeks into the semester, and then they wait 2 weeks after that before they start issuing refunds. As your students are first-year students, a lot of times they're just in the dorm, and this isn't a big deal because it's just posting to their balance. But in future years, that'll be a big deal if you're trying to pay for off-campus costs. So the aid that we posted 10 days before the beginning of a term, and we immediately start that refund process. So that if you are generating funds for off-campus housing or other types of needs that you have, we try to get those funds to you as quickly as possible.
And I will say with that too, our loan area is working frantically to get all of those Parent Plus loans on student accounts. But you might have submitted an application and you're just waiting for that to actually show up on your student account. So just know that our loan area is working on those. If you have any question about, I didn't get a confirmation email from student aid when I, filed my Parent Plus loan application, or you have questions that maybe it wasn't filed correctly, or you don't know what amount you put on there, and you have a better idea of how much you would like to borrow at this point, feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to, make sure that everything is filed properly out on the federal side and everything looks okay. and you're in the queue to be added just as soon as our loan area can get to it.
We've got a couple of questions coming in the Q&A that we can kind of take too. One is, if a student accepted work study and now thinks it's too much, can she waive it? And let's deal with whether it's work study or whether they've accepted some of their student loan and they want to reduce it. If you'll just send an email to us, again, whether that's to our SFS email inbox, that's fine, to let us know that you either want to reduce the work study or you want to reduce the student loans. Typically, though, for work study, students only receive the pay as they work. So, a couple things there. First of all, if your student has been awarded federal work study, they would need to accept it, but they would also need to go out on their My Student Tools tab to a place called Handshake. It's where they can see the jobs that are available out there. It's where they can apply for those jobs. So they need to get a job on campus and actually begin working. And then they would receive, each month they would receive that pay directly to them. They could turn around and pay it toward the balance if they want to, but that pay is going to come directly to them. So the amount that they've been awarded, technically, they don't necessarily need to reduce it. They're only going to earn the amount that they work, that they earn. There's another question that says how to pay the bill from student savings account on your website. And there are ways to make ACH payments from accounts and pieces like that. So whether it's from a saving account or a checking account, yes, and I will post a link to making how to make payments. I'll post that in the general chat so that everyone can see that. But yes, you can make payments straight from the account. You want to do a couple of the other ones, I'll get that posted and you can pick back up on the Q&As.
Yeah. So there was another pre-submitted question about there being 2 tuition charges in your payment suite. So you were likely in the boat where you had some pre-registered classes, and so tuition charges went on, and then we wouldn't make an adjustment to charges that have actually already happened. And so when you registered for more classes, at that point, another tuition charge went on your account that would get you up to that full-time tuition amount between the two. So it's likely that your registration was just kind of timed a little off with that billing statement going out. And so that's why you would most likely see the 2 tuition charges in your payment suite in your account activity there. We also have a question, can you have multiple people pay a portion of the bill? And the answer is absolutely yes. So your student can have up to 10 authorized users in their payment suite. So if your student will go in and just add those multiple payers as authorized users, they can be able to go in and see the current account activity, the statement balance, and then I would just recommend kind of working it out with whoever's going to be paying on the student account that, okay, I'm going to pay this amount and, grandma's going to pay this amount. But then you all can get in there and pay your portion of the bill from your saved payment methods or credit cards if you want to put that in there. Authorized users typically will not see any saved payment methods for other authorized users. So if you have multiple people getting in there, they will have their own authorized user login, and you won't be able to have access to their saved payment methods that they have on the student's payment suite in there. But absolutely, yeah, multiple people can have access to your student's payment suite and make payments on their behalf as well. We had the question of how does federal work study work, which is a great question because on that estimated financial aid offer, it shows as kind of additional ways to pay down at the bottom of your offer. And because it works so differently, like Dave was talking about, and you get paid that biweekly paycheck as you work those hours, you will never typically see that on your bill. So the federal work study is kind of completely separate. Once you go find your job, you'll get that paid to you by direct deposit, and then you have the autonomy to put that towards your account if you want to, or just use it for discretionary or personal expenses throughout the year. Let's see. I will just quickly address if you're set up as an authorized user and you forgot your password or you need to reset your account, you can navigate to that bill pay at slu.edu page, and there is a forgot password link there. So you'll just enter your email and be able to reset your password there. If you no longer have access to your email account that your student set up, your authorized user account to go to, they can just get in and send it to a new email that you do have access to. So no worries there.
Hey, let me just say one thing too, just quick, as we're talking about authorized users and everything. The whole why in the world doesn't the school just email more information directly to the parents? I have lived that. I've had 3 kids go through college, and I've had that same thought as you probably have had. It's the privacy laws, and it's the FERPA regulations, the federal regulations. By federal regulation, unless a student authorizes us to send information to the parent, we are not allowed to. And so we totally recognize that, and that's what, when we talk about authorized users, your students can authorize you to make payments, because parents will call and say, well, if you want us to make a payment, you're going to have to let us have access to the information. Believe us, we would love to do that. Okay. There's just some steps your students need to take to do that. So if that seems frustrating to you, please know we totally get it. Those are just federal regulations, and it's really meant to protect our students, because imagine it's for any third party. We can't give information out to any third party, including parents, unless the student authorizes it. You wouldn't want somebody we don't know or you don't know to call us and we just give them all your students' information. So it's meant for their protection, but we totally get the frustration of that process. So, and so far we're caught up in Q&A. I posted the information about how to reset your password and stuff in the chat.
Perfect. Yeah. And I am seeing some questions and realized I didn't really talk about the breakdown of the federal direct loans. You might be eligible for a portion of those to be subsidized, and then the remainder would be unsubsidized. And basically that's just a fancy way of saying that subsidized portion will not be accruing interest while you're in school. So you can choose to take out just the subsidized portion, or just, or if you want to take out the full $5,500 that first year, you're more than welcome to make decisions, based on what your debt is going to look like on down the road. But that subsidized loan is subject to maybe change each year as you file the FAFSA and your aid packages are put together. You could see that eligibility come or go away during your time at SLU.
We had a question asking about if my student declined their federal work study but now would like it. They can simply send an email to sfs@slu.edu and request that we reoffer it to them. Same thing with their student loans. If they decline them but have changed their mind, they could do that. And know that sometimes I think families think, well, we've declined these loans and that's it for the whole year. If students have that eligibility for the whole year, right? So you could get even into the spring semester and decide then you want them, and you could ask us to reoffer them to your student, or you only accepted a portion of them. You still retain that full eligibility for the full year.
Yeah, and just to say this out loud to everyone too, those payment plans are for the semester. So you will need to enroll in a payment plan each semester that you're wanting those installments. So the $75 fee plan would be $75 per semester as you sign up for those payment plans. Otherwise, you would be accruing interest on the 1% finance charge monthly plan for each semester. Okay. So I'm not currently seeing any open questions, and it looks like we've kind of also blazed through our pre-submitted questions as well. I'll give you a little bit of time if there are final, burning questions or things like that that you really want to get answered tonight. But I will also put up our contact information here on the screen for you. So we are more than happy to answer any questions that you have about your billing statement or your account activity, and any questions or concerns that you might have. So you can reach us this is our general phone. So you'll get the first available counselor here to be able to answer any questions for you. You can always email our general sfs@slu.edu to be able to get questions answered as well. And you've likely been working really closely with your admission counselor throughout your college search process. And even after you've committed to SLU, they've kind of been walking you through next steps and how to get ready for the fall. You'll be officially transitioned to your student financial services counselor here in the next couple of weeks. So your student will have an assigned student financial services counselor that will be theirs during their time here at SLU to be able to go and ask any questions and make sure that they are staying on top of payments and, helping them find additional types of aid and avenues for financing their education throughout their time at SLU too. So you can find your assigned student financial services counselor during the year through your EAV Navigate tool in your My SLU Tools tab. You can also set up an appointment with them there and send them messages there to be able to, get your questions answered once you are kind of transitioned away from your admission counselor. So feel free to reach out with any questions that you have.
Hey, one quick follow-up on work study, because there's students out there that maybe they said no on the FAFSA, that they either know or don't know about federal work study. They can still email us and ask us to review their eligibility for it, because it is a need-based piece of aid. So we can review that. But I'll tell you what, we have lots of work study to give, and we are having trouble getting students to work. So we definitely want them to tell us if they would like to do work study. And one more thing too, I'm sorry, students, I probably shouldn't tell this on you. If your student was not awarded work study, they still can work on campus. We have more jobs on campus than we can fill with the work study money and things. It's the same jobs, the same pay rate. Again, I would encourage them to go out to Handshake. I posted the link to Handshake in the chat. And it's a little easier for the work studies eligible students to get a job because they're pretty much free for whoever they're working for. But lots of departments on campus have payroll dollars for students. So if you're a parent that wants your student to work on campus, they're saying, oh, gee, I don't think I have federal work study. They can still work, okay? And it's awesome, way more than just hey, they're going to have some income coming in. They make great connections on campus. There's all kinds of studies on how good that is for them. And just as a dad talking here, there's a whole nother set of parents and folks watching out for your kids on campus. So there's just awesome benefits to working on campus.
All right, well, I don't see any other questions in the chat. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap up for tonight. But as I said, please feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions or need any additional guidance on your bill or charges that are on there. We're more than happy to help. But thanks for spending your evening with us, and roll bills.
Thank you, everybody.